if you had a horse go shin sore, how long is it going to take for the body to build back the bone density or go through that reformation cycle before they'll be sound enough to resume training?
Yeah. So again, it's a little bit like how long is a piece of string? It depends really on the magnitude of the response that's occurred with the shin soreness. So it's a little bit like a cooking show. Here's something I just sort of whipped up a little bit earlier. And here is an image from a paper and some work that we did quite a few years ago, which was with some thoroughbred racehorses. And what we've got here is this is a thin section micro radiograph right through the middle of the cannon bone. And what we have here is, here's the cannon bone. This is the inside, or what we call the inside of the leg, medial. And this is the lateral. You can see that the cannon bone has responded. This is a horse that had, I've forgotten actually, I have to go back and look at the data. It only had a couple of gallop strides. But what we have here is, we've indicated here with green is what we call double labeled. So, what was this was a week, I think this is a week or 2 week period where we labeled it with osteocalcium, and we've created a stylized image here. But when we looked at a microscopic level, we were able to identify the amount of growth that occurred within 2 weeks. So this is a 2 week window here, this difference between these two lines. So that's the growth in the bone as it's responded, saying, okay, I've got to get bigger, I've got to reduce the load. So it's been laying down bone here. And when we talk about shin soreness, this is this lovely proliferative periosteal growth here, which is almost like, if you look at it, it's almost like little wee feathers coming forward. And so that's what is occurring with shin soreness, is the bone is trying to say, I'm getting these loads that are greater than what I normally experience, and how do I cope with that? And the easiest way is to make the bone larger in the direction of load. And so that's what's occurred here. And so what we have to do with shin soreness is it's the time that it takes to backfill that scaffold. So it really depends on the magnitude of that shin soreness.
And that will determine when they can come back into work.
Yeah. And so really, you know, when we talk about, there's some lovely work done by Kristen Verheyen in the United Kingdom, looking at shin soreness in racehorses in the UK. And what we saw with that data is that, again, we talk about bone being able to respond with only a few load cycles. What you need to do is apply some high-speed load cycles early on, and that reduces your risk of shin soreness. And it only needs to be 6 strides at an osteoinductive rate. So 6 strides at greater than 14 meters per second in a racehorse is enough for the bone to be able to go, I'm going to be galloping. So that's quite a different load and strain that I'm exposed to during cantering, and it allows the bone to develop appropriately. So when you start creating and doing significant gallop work, the bone is already primed.
So that wouldn't be age-related so much then as
No,
how well prepared it is?
Not at all. There was some lovely work done by Nanamaker in the United States, and he took cohorts of horses and he made them go shin sore. And what it really is, it's naivety. So it's lack of exposure to gallop load cycles that cause shin soreness. It's not the fact horses are young, because you can take a 4-year-old that's never galloped, and then you apply galloping exercise, and you can make the horse go shinny.
That's good information for a lot of people, I'd suggest.
Yeah.
We could go to more questions. Where are you up to, Chris? Are you ready for just some Q&A?
Yeah, I could just sort of amble through it. Yeah.
We did have one with Bethany, just taking a bit of a step back with what you're talking about with exposing the young horse through this framework that you're talking about. At what age do you consider someone be able to ride a horse as well after this process?
So, well, I guess really it does depend a little bit on the horse. But if we talk about in the thoroughbred context, what we often do is we often start those horses as what we call long yearlings. So into the yearling sales, it's before their 2nd year of age, and they start them under saddle. And again, it's a matter of thinking about the that concept that we had about the boxes, which were the load cycles. and the dotted lines, which is responses. It's a matter of looking at each individual and saying, I'm applying the appropriate loads that that horse can tolerate. So some horses, it may be a little bit later, they may be a little bit more immature, and others can start quite early. But when we look at the data out of Europe, you know, you can easily start saddle breaking and getting a horse going as even a warm blood as a 2-year-old. And it's a matter of thinking about how am I applying, it's like any training, how am I applying those load cycles? Is it in a positive framework to stimulate development, or am I being too over enthusiastic and I'm actually at the wrong end of the spectrum? I'm applying loads that is too much for that animal's stage of development and for the level of training that it currently has.
So Nancy asked, what is the impact of short durations of high intensity fast work on the development of the density of the distal bones,
yep.
limb bones? So do we have anything about the intensity?
Yeah.
And
yeah, so bone gets, we talked about bone gets stronger by either getting bigger or by increasing in density. And so when you exceed 14 meters per second, that seems to be the threshold up to 14 meters per second, which is the equivalent of 3/4 pace in a thoroughbred racehorse. Up to 3/4 pace, what happens is the bone gets larger. So what happens here is that we see this growth, like with these two rings, it puts on more bone and changes the shape of the bone rather than increasing in density. And then once you exceed 14 meters per second, that is where the bone goes, what I actually have to do is I have to increase in density to make this stronger. And that's where it really is. So you only need 6 gallop strides for the bone to actually be stimulated and to increase in density. So you can work that in. If you see in a thoroughbred context, you do your pace work and then you just open the horse out for the last furlong on the way home. If it can hit 6 gallop strides through that, that's enough to be osteoinductive and to increase in density.